Hey, what's up? Roan here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to answer one of the most common questions I get when it comes to outside in and inside out and the edge of a disc, and that's, do I use my wrist to change that angle, the elbow, or my upper body? Now that's a great question that I don't have a perfect answer to, so I'm just going to throw 10 or 15 throws and then break them down over footage so we can find out what's going on. Additionally, I just want to say thanks to everybody who has subscribed to Excel Ultimate's premium library. That support is what lets me do these videos and continue educating players across the country and the world ultimate tips. So thanks y'all, appreciate it. And let's get to the edges and angles video. All right, welcome. Here we're just going to dive into 10 forehands. We're going to start with 5 mid-range shortish throws and then add some little power. And yeah, we're just going to take a look at the angles we're creating with our body so we can start to learn how to, put edges and angles on a disc mechanically. So starting off with just like a little bit of a blade, just to start really outside in. Just wanted to take a quick look, and a few things that stick out to me. One is I'm standing pretty much upright. There's a little bit of a bend, but that's just a couple degrees. Torso straight up, upper body straight up, and on the arm, it looks like a little bit of a bend, not too much here, pretty straight. And what's interesting here is even though I'm throwing a blade, my wrist doesn't bend at all. It's pretty neutral. And by neutral, I just mean, it's not uh, this way or like super low. If it was going to be like an inside out, it's not bent down. So having a really strong supportive wrist, pretty much how I practice throwing everyone, it's still there, even though it's a blade. And my body is kind of changing the angle. So moving ahead here, I have a couple different shapes to show. Let's see, this one looks like this one's just a natural outside in, maybe about 30 yards. So let's kind of go to the release point here. And yeah, I am still pretty upright. I'm not really bending the torso. It's a little bit bent, but I'm not really bent down. One interesting angle here to me is that the arm is pretty straight. That makes a little bit of sense. It makes a lot of sense, honestly. You don't want to completely, you know, lock the elbow to a degree that's uncomfortable. And the second cool thing here is the wrist is the same. So far the wrist hasn't changed. I do think that something to keep in mind, this outside in, this right foot is almost at 3 o'clock to the side. And I think that's going to change as we start to bring in some inside outs. So let's see what this next one is. This one is the first pretty steep inside out here. So let's take a look. I definitely thought this was going to happen. The upper body really bends. So that is allowing my elbow and wrist to stay in a similar spot. The elbow's a little bit more bendy than the other one, but it's still pretty neutral. And just like everything else, the wrist is in that line. That way I can get most of the power on the wrist. So the big change here is the torso for sure. And a second change is the foot, which was here for the outside in, has now kind of gone up forward. I think that's going to allow me to dip my upper body and get a nice clean release inside out off of my right foot. And then it's cool because since we are kind of going frame by frame, you'll notice as soon as I release the disc, that's when that right or that left foot moves. So I know you see everybody always whining about the travel calls, but as long as you release the disc, you're fine. It just looks weird. So we got a couple more short range throws here. This one is just a neutral flat disc. I'm trying to release it perfectly flat. Again, that wrist is still the same. So no matter what edge you're throwing, I really think that wrist should be locked in neutral, giving you the most, clean release you can. Body's a little tilted, not much. Foot is It's not totally forward, but it's not out to the side. So I would say like my big inside outs are here, my big outside ins are here, and this is just like a nice neutral 45-degree flat throw. Um, yeah, so arm I think the elbow has kind of been this angle each time, except for the blade. So we'll see a little bit more in the next set when we're going to open it up and throw for a little more distance. And let's see with a little more zoom in if we can get anything else. So just based now on this, I almost know, and like I forgot what throw this is, but based on this step out to the right, it looks like we're going for an outside in. I think just bringing your foot laterally to the right helps open up that path. And let's see if that is true. Yep, that looks like the outside in there. So yeah, I think that right foot actually is pretty important on shaping the throws. Let's kind of go back a few frames to see if we can get everything else. So yeah, a little more power here. So I think not only is the foot out to the side for the outside in, but I think on my unders, I'm like here. I think adding a little bit more stride got me a little bit extra power, but that's not why we're here. We're working on the angles. So torso is pretty bent here. I think what's happening a little bit too is the further you throw for this like outside in, you don't have to put as much outside in because the disc is naturally going to turn over. So it's almost like a little flat / inside out release, it looks like. So a pretty flat release, but since I'm throwing it far, the disc is naturally going to turn over. So that's another big thing to the edge control is, especially the further you throw, the disc does things naturally in flight. So just being able to kind of understand what the disc is going to do. And if I'd thrown like a really outside in looking throw right here, it would have just completely kind of bladed off to the left because it naturally wants to do that in its flight. So there is the mechanics to controlling the edges, and there's also the way the disc flies. And try to get to, so it looks like that one was kind of a inside out. So there's the more forward step there. Torso is pretty down, and yeah, wrist has been neutral the whole time. So I think really if I had to kind of boil down, what I'm seeing is this right foot is indicating a lot of edges, and I think the torso too. So those are the two major contributors. Again, just what I'm seeing through these 10 throws might not be absolutely correct, but yeah, you don't really ever want to change like that angle of the elbow or the wrist. I think those are too valuable to get a good throw. Obviously, there might be some exceptions. Let's see what we have here. Got a couple more. So this one's it's like kind of an inside out break. So really forward with the step. Big lean here. Like I'm almost like really leaning. That's the steepest angle I've seen with the forward step. That's going to help get it to the break side. And if I go back a frame or two, I just want to see where the elbow is on this one. Yeah, and the elbow is pretty neutral. I think I really have seen that angle the entire time. So a couple more here, and yeah, some big outside in. My body's a lot more upright. My foot's out to the right. That's been the entire thing the whole time. Wrist is neutral, elbow's pretty neutral, and letting the disc flip with the air. So I think I have the answer that I was looking for before, and that's to kind of work on the edges and angles. There's a lot of lower body and torso, and there's not a lot of elbow or wrist control, or there's not a lot of elbow or wrist variance. So this one, I already know it's going to be pretty inside out, pretty forward step here, and the torso is already starting to lean. So I hope this was, little flat inside out there, tough nose angle. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed this new kind of video with me breaking down some of the technique. I might try some of this with some in-game strategy too, so stay tuned and subscribe. Again, appreciate everybody's support at Excel Ultimate as well as this YouTube channel. It really inspires me to continue to create these videos. Thanks a lot, and if you do want to check out Excel Ultimate, just hit up excelultimate.com. Hope to see you there.